Okay, deep hip opener, we are gonna take a look at lizard pose. So I would like you, just like runner's lunge, I want you to have your blocks, okay? So have your blocks available. Have your hands on your blocks. You're like in a weird kind of higher up tabletop. You're gonna take the weight into your left leg and you're gonna step your right leg forwards. Now, instead of coming through the center, we're going to walk our foot to the outside, okay? So the foot's on the outside of that right block. Now, you're gonna start to sink forwards, and this is where we're gonna start to need some adjustments. You can see now that my knee is overshooting my toes and my ankle. This is gonna add stress to my knee. So I'm gonna walk my foot forwards. Check again, I'm gonna sink forwards. And if, my knee comes a little bit further forwards, I walk my foot a little bit further forwards. Now, my shoulders are coming beyond my blocks. So I'm gonna walk my blocks back up, forwards, until they're directly under my shoulders. If your blocks are too far forwards or too far back in this pose, you're going to fatigue your shoulder joint. This stretch is not for the shoulders. This stretch is for your hips. So lizard pose, let's talk about what's happening here. Back hip is an extension, which means that hip joint is being stretched. Front leg is in deep flexion and slight external rotation. This is a shortening of the joint. This is much shorter than we would be when we're seated, which is why it's difficult and why we struggle to get that leg up higher. Now, from here, what we don't want to start doing is then rounding in the back. So you're going to push into those blocks, shine the sternum forwards, the chest. Try not to jut the chin, keep the chin slightly tucked. You're going to have a tendency, you're going to want to roll onto the knife edge of that foot. For this variation that I'm teaching you today, I want you to keep your foot flat. So you're going to press down through the big toe. This is going to limit the range, but that's okay. I'll teach you lots of different options when we come into the classes. Inhale, find length. Exhale, sinking down. If you are more open in the hips, again, you can play around with those blocks. You can take them flatter and flatter. It just depends on what your range is. Okay, but generally, even with the blocks on their highest setting, if you are sinking down through those hips, then you're going to get a stretch. So if you lowered your blocks, come back onto the highest height, push into the blocks, send the weight back, and bring that knee back onto the floor. Now, I want you to keep the blocks where they are, just because this is more true to where you're probably going to get with that other foot. Take the weight into the right knee, start to step that left foot forwards, might be a few steps, okay, to the outside of that left block. Same checklist here. I'll move my hands out of the way. As you sink forwards, if that knee is overshooting the ankle, you need to walk that foot further forwards. It doesn't matter if the ankle is slightly forwards of the knee, it just matters if it's slightly behind. Hands come onto the block. Asymmetrical, so your hips are going to feel different. Now your right leg is in extension and your left leg is in that flexion and external rotation. Press down through the big toe mound. Inhale, find length, sternum forwards. Exhale, sink down. Same thing with effort and ease. As you inhale, we find that ease, that length, that space. And as we exhale, we try to find that effort. We're sinking down. We're trying to get deeper in the pose. Again, you can play around with the height of the blocks, okay? Anything that you want here. Some people, okay, you're gonna want to come down on your forearms. This is an option as well. I like to use the blocks in my forearms if that is something that feels good to you. If you're really rounding the back, maybe try to come a bit higher, okay? So this is a nice option for those who are a little bit more mobile in the hips. And then to get out of the pose, take the blocks on their highest setting, take the weight into your right knee, and just see if you can slowly step back, maybe coming into a child's pose or anything else that feels good. So that is lizard pose.